Oh, wait a minute. There we go.
Drink a little drink, smoke a little smoke.
All right, we are live. Let me check this stuff.
Hey, look at that. Ooh, China's. Okay, great, awesome. Killer.
I forgot. I gotta tell.
Silence all your notifications.
I know, right? Do. I gotta let her know. There we go. And yes, the thing on this is correct. And surprisingly and scary, it took me like 3 tries to get the name on it because it kept on logging me out of the stream. So the Chinese genocide, which there's a lot of stuff going on about it, and one of the main things is because the Olympics are happening in Beijing. One, our U.S. officials, anybody that's like government officials, will not be going to the event. Which, surprise, surprise. And another thing is all participants that are the athletes cannot say anything about the genocide or human rights violation.
And it's also noteworthy that as you were setting up the live, it kicked you out twice, logged you out completely from YouTube when you entered Chinese genocide.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird. Surprised we don't have like a...
Phenomenon. Do.
I'm really surprised that we don't have like more viewers on this since we put it in. Oh, Maria's already here. Awesome. So we got 3 watching, practically me and you and Maria. So all 3 of us, which is really strange on the live ones because I'm looking at. Let me look at the details on this from the last one. We get a little bit more on our live shows. And this is like people going in and watching it afterwards, which I think it's just because they want to see us fuck up. So
They don't believe that the edit button is grayed out whenever you go through and what what you see during our regular episodes that you watch.
I edit
Really?
the regular shows and everything like that. I edit me walking to my chair.
Oh,
checking
well, okay,
everything
so
and
the
stuff.
before and afters, yeah. But basically, what you see on those episodes is one continuous shot. There's no herky jerks. There's no timestamp discrepancies. It if we screw up, we screw up. It's out there. But hey.
Yeah, we do that on the editing. I mean, very rarely. I think I only had to go through and edit like 3 episodes, and the only edit 4 technically. And the first one that we've done that I had to edit was the 4-hour one.
Yeah, well, out of like the 100 something episodes that we've had, only 4 edits.
I think this is our 180th
Yeah, so almost 200
of total of episodes.
almost 200 episodes. You've only edited 4.
Yeah,
So,
that's showing that how much that we.
what are you hiding, David?
You'd be surprised. But no, I ended up. It was just total accident of when I think it was like last episode. I think it was like.
Hold on.
Internment Camps.
Sangji, yeah, okay.
But I think it was like last episode to where it was this bittersweet winners, and I can actually do this right now. I'm gonna put this in our bio or description, and there's several stuff in the I can. This is the great thing about this is you can actually follow with this if I do it fast enough, and I'll save it and I'll put it in the description to where you can read along with us of all the stuff that we're looking at right now. But this is another strange thing, and this has happened. 2003, it started happening, and it's the Muslim community that they're doing mostly hardcore with this. They're changed their religion. They're saying it's too radical.
Right.
But let me see the killing fields. Okay. For the first time, as a respected scholar in his community, is coming out about his experience in the camps complete so large it's terrifying. Complex is terrifying. Supposedly 100,000 prisoners are locked up just east of Zhengjing, Zhengjing's capital. Would you stop doing that when we're freaking... I've seen that so many times before, it's not even funny. Luckily, Maria's in our secret group, so she can see that. But anyways, it's actually in the province of Yagars. It jumped from 46%, and the growth of that through this Chinese government-sponsored immigration program aimed at centralization. Centralization or centralization? Let me get my speaking spell. What are you doing? There you go. No, dang it, no, messing up. See, this is live, and even though we're doing it live, we still have the.
See, the Chinese have internment camps, and they sit. See, the Chinese have internment camps, and they sit. The mute button. There we go. Good job. They're called the Chinese call them vocational education and training centers.
Yeah, which in 2018 they made it legal, so it's perfectly fine.
Oh, it's perfectly fine there.
Even though they torture, murder.
Well, it was a
people.
policy announced in 2014, actually, and the camps have been criticized for alleged human rights abuses, including mistreatment, rape, torture. There's a lot of governments around the world and human rights organizations, some of them alleging genocide. Some 40 countries around the world have called on China to respect human rights of the, I'm just going to butcher it, the Uyghur community. There we go. I'm not Chinese. Yeah. Including countries like Canada, Germany, Turkey, Honduras, and Japan. The governments of more than 35 countries have expressed support for China's government. And I kind of want to know what governments those are. But
Hold on.
Weavers.
That's a pronunciation of that.
Really?
Yeah, I'll do it again.
Weavers. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no V there, but whatever. Camps were started in 2017. The General Secretary is Xi Jinping. There we go. Jinping.
Panda.
Anyways,
No. It was Winnie the Pooh.
Operations. Winnie the Pooh is an English thing.
No. You didn't hear that?
Let me finish this thought.
Okay.
Operations are led by the then Chen Guangzhou. Okay. He's a CCC member of the Politburo, which is basically communist version of a Congress. And a committee secretary who leads the region's party committee and government. Camps were reportedly operated outside the Chinese legal system. Many of the Weavers have reportedly been interred without trial, and no charges have been levied against them. They're basically being detained, if we're speaking Wichita County governmentese. Local authorities are reportedly holding hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs in these camps, as well as members of other ethnic minority groups in China, for the stated purpose of countering extremism and terrorism and promoting social integration.
Basically, what he's trying to say is Hitler.
Well, no. Hitler made absolutely no bones about it. He approached the Jewish community of the countries that they occupied, to include Germany, that they viewed the Jewish community as a problem. Hence the reason why they called it the final solution. Okay.
Okay, we're 10 minutes out. I can say it. Could you imagine if they just totally botched it? Like, instead of saying,
If you're referring to the TikTok video where they were thinking Hitler maybe said he wanted a glass of juice.
Yeah.
No. But the internment of the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims in the camps constitutes the largest scale arbitrary detention of ethnic and religious minorities since World War II. Now, that's the only parallel that it draws.
yeah,
Okay. But as of 2020, it was estimated that Chinese authorities have detained up to 1.8 million people, mostly Uyghurs, but also including Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, and other Turkic Muslims, Christians, as well as some foreign citizens, including Kazakhstanis, in these secretive internment camps located throughout the region. In May 2018, Randall Shriver, U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, that is a long-ass job title name, said that at least 1 million, but likely closer to 3 million citizens were imprisoned in detention centers, which he described as concentration camps. Now, we know that on the surface that is exactly what these are aimed to be.
yeah, concentration camps.
But I think at the time they were using the term concentration camp as kind of like a...
They were using the term re-education camps.
Well, no, I'm saying our guy used
Oh,
the
yeah,
term
yeah.
concentration camps as more of a... He used it more for shock value to kind of bring a wider span of attention to focus, down on these camps and the practices that the government was going through. I mean, the way that China is kind of operating these things now is basically kind of tantamount to the 21st century version of the Iron Curtain, because before the Soviet Union fell, they were referred to as the Iron Curtain. Anything east of the Berlin Wall, and what we affectionately referred to as the Warsaw Pact countries, anything and everything that occurred in there generally was not known. This was way before social media. It was definitely before wide use of the internet as far as like a information, true information sharing site, or place, like we do today. But the Chinese, I mean, they got to step that up, obviously, and they knew that going into it, because they have things like the internet. Even though they may try to block every IP, or ISP, and restrict, under state orders what content comes in and what content goes out.
This might actually slip through. I would be surprised.
Well, I mean, even with the pomp and circumstance that North Korea puts on whenever visitors are allowed, I mean, there's only so much shine you can put on a turd.
Yeah.
You're never going to get a turd to spit shine, and at all. Period. It's at best it might have a lackluster glow. At best, but you're still going to be able to see through the veneer, and I think that's exactly what's going on. Is that they've got enough people that have that have knowledge of these things. And
you know what
go ahead.
though, that really surprises me about it's not gonzo journal, but investigative
journalism, yeah.
There's one guy that's gotten into like really weird spot that's able to report on a lot of the stuff that's been going on, like North Korea and places like that. Mm-hmm. Guess who it is? Henry Rollins.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, when he retired from the music industry, he had to focus that intense energy that he had on the stage. He had to focus it somewhere. So
He does like investigation reporting. He'll go in and it's like he's gotten into North Korea. He's gotten into China and
Yeah.
reported on all the horrible stuff.
yeah, and it's. I mean, everybody knows. Everybody knows about North Korea, the crap that goes on there. Everybody knows about China, and about 75 to 80% of the crap that goes on there. And on vice versa. I mean, all the stuff that goes on with our government, i.e., the CIA black sites, the Skunk Works program at with Lockheed Martin.
MK Ultra, which just went over.
MK Ultra, but I mean, a lot of that has been heavily redacted, but still, I mean, it's still available through the Freedom of Information Act. But the deep state that runs a lot of our governments worldwide, they've managed to keep everything. For the most part, with the exception of the fact that people know that there's a deep state out there,
Yeah.
nobody really knows anything. But with the Chinese, I mean, we know about their two-child rule or one-child rule, and if you have more than the number of girls that you're allotted, one of them is ushered off somewhere. It's just somewhere in an office building in Beijing, there is some government official sweating it right now because every time something else comes out about this, but I mean, every time something comes out, I mean, even if it's unfounded, if it's even remotely close to being the truth, you have to imagine that there's some government official that is pointing the finger at a low rung government employee, and that dude is never seen again, ever.
Well, that's what usually happens. And now it's another strange thing that actually happens. And they're being thought of human rights violations on this, too, is the execution bans.
Yeah. I mean, with a country of something like to the tune of 6 billion people, if I remember correctly, if that's what the last number was as far as China's population was concerned. But that the government is so full of themselves and just big enough to where they think they can get away with it without anybody saying anything. I mean, the citizenry knows what's going on. The government knows what's going on because somebody is giving that order. And I think they said that because I remember when I was in, they said that if everybody in the United States military was sniper qualified, we wouldn't have enough rounds to one shot, one kill everybody in the Chinese army.
That's why we get nukes.
Yeah, but now you've got these rogue states like Pakistan, India. They're developing.
Yeah, it's one of those things of having a bigger stick sometimes doesn't just shows that you have everybody's having a bigger stick now.
It used to be that whenever the two superpowers, and I'm talking about us and the Soviet Union, we had enough nuclear arsenal to destroy the world 100 times over.
Yeah.
It was called assured mutual destruction. And for the longest time, that was the one thing that kept us and the Armageddon clock from striking midnight. Or the doomsday clock, rather.
which surprised me because I watched Watchmen, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I started doing a little research. An actual thing. They actually have a doomsday clock.
Yeah, there's a committee. They meet once a year, or sometimes twice a year.
I wonder what's set at right now.
I was just about to look that up.
Let's see here. The doomsday clock. 100 seconds to midnight.
I think at one point it was like 60 seconds to midnight. And I mean, to be honest with you, it really kind of used to be a big thing. There was a periodical that was published by them, and it would come out. I mean, and it was just. I mean, today now. I mean, it's. I mean, it's more or less. It's just a really poor illustration as to what the state of the world is in.
Yeah.
So, and
Especially right now, to the point where because of all the pandemic stuff and Europe right now being under siege with their own people, that's another thing a lot of people don't talk about is literally all the riots that are happening in Europe right now. Italy, Greece, Norway. What's the other one? And that whole thing with Russia and Ukraine right now. I mean, I want to say that we are about to hit World War III with all the stuff that we're looking at right now, but hopefully, because I don't know if we sent troops. I think we sent.
no, Biden, he's going to posture, and Biden's going to say this. He's going to say he's basically talking out of his ass. I don't think our current commander-in-chief, and I use that term very loosely, I don't think he's got the balls to do anything. And I think every world leader on this planet knows it.
Well, right now it's not the Biden administration even thinking about doing it. It's because what a lot of people don't understand, it takes an act of Congress to call upon war.
I understand that. But the president has powers to deploy troops up to a certain strength for a certain determinate amount of time before he requires congressional approval to extend said deployment and or declare a state of war.
Yeah. Well, another thing that just happened recently too is the diplomats for Ukraine.
Yeah, all the Russian diplomats have been pulled from the Ukrainian embassy.
And ours.
Yeah, and ours. And then there's some governments that are standing fast. They're just kind of waiting it out.
Yeah.
But Russia's going to retake the Ukraine. Pure, plain and simple. We see it as, I mean, the writing's on the wall. They're going to retake the Ukraine. And, honestly, at this point, until we get somebody in the Oval Office that understands military tactics, appreciates what the military can do, and has the wherewithal to get the hell out of the military's way and let them conduct business.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of hectic. I mean, the last time we had something like that.
We don't need to go getting involved in anything.
Yeah, the last time we had something like that was World War II, though.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing. We were forced into World War II.
Yeah.
Okay? We were forced into World War II. Now, you're going to have those conspiracy theories that FDR knew it was coming and he didn't do anything about it because he was looking for a way to get into the war, blah, blah, blah.
You mean like 9/11? People are saying that too.
Anyways, we're not talking about 9/11.
Let's keep on going.
Those tinfoil hats, the force is strong with those, okay?
Yeah.
But we need to take more of a kind of an America First stance right now. We need to figure out our own shit before we start redeploying our guys to these battlefields or potential battlefields or even staging up for a battlefield Because right now, with the current administration and the mindset in Washington, period, with everybody freaking losing their minds, the rules of engagement are going to be so hampering.
Yeah.
It's going to be going into this fight literally blindfolded with both hands tied behind our back, and they're going to be expecting us to win the day.
Yeah. But what's really strange on that, just reviewing history and everything like that, it seems that it actually is repeating itself into a little bit of way, because during the first half before World War One and World War Two, everybody wanted to be, in that socialistic ideology.
No, okay, you're. I understand where you're trying to go with this, but it wasn't a socialistic ideology that kept us out of World War One at first. Okay, because at the time,
I think that was the Second World War. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, with World War One, and even to an extent, for the most part, World War Two, the society was a lot different back then. We were not a world community, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Okay. We had, it was the brand new turn of a century. We're still trying to get shit figured out in America, trying to get going in a right direction. We're trying to establish ourselves as a world power. And yeah, you've got some of our men that were rushing off and enlisting in the Canadian Army, or they were enlisting in the British armies, and they were going off to fight these battles. And they were even, some of them, enlisting in the French armies. To fight the Germans, because these guys, they loved freedom and they heard the call of battle and they answered it. I'm not laying off of that. Okay, but there was nothing socialistic about it. What brought us into World War One was when our American supply ships were being targeted by a very primitive German Navy, to include their very, very rudimentary U-boats.
Sorry.
What pulled us into World War II ultimately was, or the final straw that pulled us into World War II ultimately, was the attack against Pearl Harbor by the Japanese. And just because the Japanese were allied with the Germans, that's what necessitated us going over to the European theater as opposed to focusing all of our might on the Pacific theater. So, we had German U-boats sitting off the coast of, off the eastern seaboard, taking pictures of the New York skyline through their periscopes. We had German U-boats off the coast of Florida, looking at Miami. So the Germans, they basically ruled the Atlantic. And it was through our convoys, our armadas that were going through, taking supplies and things like that. Those ships were getting sunk, but FDR wasn't. He just, he was like, hey, look, we're just trying to fund their war effort, kind of a thing. It's when we were directly attacked on our main land that pulled us into World War II ultimately.
Yeah,
but as far as socialistic ideologies,
because that's where FDR did the.
Well, that's what FDR did to pull us out of the quote unquote, pull us out of the depression. All he did was grow the size of government, and it depreciated the value, or it basically depreciated the world economy to where the American economy could catch up. That's what it did. With all of these public works programs that FDR created, like the Tennessee Valley Authority, things of that nature, the Hoover Dam Project, all that, and even introducing Social Security. We discussed this last week during our What the Hell episode. It's in the name, social. It's a socialized program. And FDR, the dude was a socialist, pure, plain and simple. He ran as a Democrat, but by God, he was a socialist.
Yeah.
He was all about it. And we started getting away from socialism kind of. During the 50s, during the McCarthy, not presidency, because McCarthy was never president, but during the McCarthy era, when he was running these big, huge congressional investigation panels, seeking out communists, it was called the Red Scare.
Yeah.
If they found out that you were a communist, or they deemed that you were a communist, you were blackballed. And Hollywood was running scared, because Hollywood at the time, it was chock full of socialists and communists. After World War I, Britain cracked down on the socialist movement, because you had a lot of veterans coming back from Europe that just, for whatever reason, they lost their shit and decided that communism would be a better form of government.
Wow.
Because, I mean, for the most part, well, no, not for the most part, but any true socialistic or socialist society, any truest, the truest sense of the term socialist, any government that attempted to embrace socialism failed throughout the course of human history.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that everybody wants to go to that as a prompt too, and you have countries like Venezuela.
I mean, Cuba was a communist socialist nation. I mean, when we finally opened Cuba back up to the United States, you want to talk about the classic car collectors that are going to flock to that island?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been driving 50s and 60s models, Chevys and Buicks, and dude, it's a haven for classic cars. But as far as the bodies are concerned, socialism is not the way to go. I mean, you could look at China. They're a communist nation, pure, plain and simple. They are a communist nation. They have a party. They have a Politburo. They practice free capital, free market capitalism. They have to, in order to be able to afford to do the things that they do on the world economic stage. Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think? And I think a lot of sci-fi writers have it right, because if you notice that's a recurring theme, that throughout this futuretopia, these different sci-fi writers are painting, the predominant language is Chinese
and English.
Like even in Firefly.
Yeah.
And if you paid attention to the Matrix, and yeah, I did watch the Resurrection movie. Wasn't that impressed with it.
No.
But the Matrix code, full of Mandarin characters.
Yeah.
And I'm just, the only futuristic society that we saw, or that we see, that doesn't have a predominantly heavy Chinese presence is the Star Trek universe. Because, and this just goes to show how big of a dork I am, the standard language for Starfleet is English.
Yeah.
So, but that all aside, back to real world stuff here. What the Chinese are doing, they're eliminating these Muslims, and yeah, they're re-educating the ones that they can re-educate, but they will never be allowed to return to normal society ever again. They will live out the rest of their miserable lives being slaves to the Chinese government. And at the end of their life, at the end of their usefulness, they will catch one round in the back of the head. And their bodies will be unceremoniously dumped into a mass grave.
No, they already know what they do with the bodies. What they do with the bodies is, if someone needs a kidney or something like that, that's where they go to.
Well, okay, they're going to harvest what they can off of these people.
Yeah,
and then they're going to be put in a mass grave, but they're going to catch a bullet to the back of the head.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get harvested, and then they're going to be disposed of. These people, once they are abducted and they go to these camps, they cease to exist. Their existence on this plane officially ends.
Yeah, and
if there's anything that the Chinese may do efficiently besides try to take over the world through an economic means, it's running these camps, because these people, they are gone.
Yeah.
And if the families of these abductees speak out or say anything,
they're brought to the camps.
they're brought to the camps, and they're brought to a different camp. They don't reunite families in these camps.
No.
No, I mean once you get that black bag thrown over your head, the next time you see daylight will be the inside of that barbed wire fence, and you will never see the outside of it again. You will never know what that soil feels like, and any degree of happiness
Gone.
because you know that you will die there.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of people. They don't understand, and I've actually talked to some people, and they're like, "Oh, good, because they're doing it to Muslims." I'm like, "Fuck you, dude," because those are humans. It doesn't matter religion or anything like that. It doesn't matter if
It's not Muslims that we have a problem with; it's the extremists.
yeah,
And what the Chinese are doing is they're taking an aggressively proactive approach to it, and I think in a lot of ways that's very detrimental. Just like FDR during the 40s when Pearl Harbor was bombed, he interred millions of Japanese Americans.
yeah,
Okay, that did nothing but sow seeds of dissent. What's his name? George Takei. Takai, yeah. No, he pronounces it Takei, like
Really?
I'm gay. That's what he said. During the roast of William Shatner, he goes in, it's pronounced Takei as in I'm gay.
no,
Right.
okay,
So when George Takei, he on his Twitter, he went from being a mildly entertaining personality to just complete and utter miserable malcontent troll. And when the subject of Japanese reparations came up, yeah, he as a child he was a member of a family that was interred in a camp in California, but homeboy, that was 70, almost 80 years ago. I mean, come on, man. Seriously, let it go. The government apologized. You went on to lead a very rich life. To say that you are being oppressed, dude, come on, seriously. That's a stretch. You're playing that victim card for all it's worth, and everybody knows that you are a shit actor. The one role that you were destined to play, you played very well, and then after your 15 minutes was up, go away. Don't sully the character, you know? I mean, he does voice acting stuff now, like he played the secret protagonist in Hit Monkey on Hulu.
Hit Monkey.
You never watched Hit Monkey?
No.
Oh man, look it up on Hulu. Marvel's Hit Monkey. Dude, it's a great series. It's a great comic book. It's dark. For a Marvel title, it's dark. But yeah, it's a great show, man. Jason Sudeikis does the voice of the main guy. And Maria said she lost us on live.
Really?
Yeah.
We're still on live.
Yeah, we're still streaming.
That's so weird.
Yeah, we're still streaming.
Huh.
Yeah, we're still.
I guess it was she
Well,
can't hear
I don't
us.
know, unless YouTube figured it out. Which I told you to use Chicom, not China.
Fucking.
Big red flag. Look at you, dude.
No. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm trying. I refreshed the page, and we've got nothing right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's buffering.
I got one watching. That is so weird. Let me check the. We're still going live. So that's weird. That is so weird.
Angry Me has officially pissed off the YouTube gods.
Apparently. Well, it's weird, but it's still going live.
Yeah, see, this is the screen I've got.
And I'm back. Okay. Yeah, we can.
Okay, there we go. Now I'm back. Yeah, Maria, you're back. Okay, great.
That is so weird.
All right, so awesome.
So if we lost anybody, my bad. Technical difficulties.
I saw that we got our bot spammer in there.
No, but what I was going to say is historically, Japanese culture in Texas is actually well welcome.
Yeah, well, in Texas. I
Yeah.
mean, but
And you know why for that, right?
please enlighten me.
The Texas 141
Oh,
was
yeah,
trapped
yeah.
behind enemy
Yeah,
lines.
the 101st Infantry Regiment, yeah.
Yeah, they were trapped behind enemy lines.
They were
and
the
only-
most decorated unit in World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were helped out by the full Japanese army that volunteered, and the last bit of them, all 12 of them, were honorary Texans.
Yeah. So, but with the, that was the only example of internment that we saw during the 20th. Yeah, we saw the Germans do it, but as far as domestically, now we know that we've got these extradition sites that the CIA and the NSA have set up, but I don't know, man. It with the Chinese, with what they're doing is, I mean, obviously it's not good. Yeah, thank you. That was one of those like kick your chest in, kind of cave your rib cage in sneezes.
Yeah.
But with
What China is basically doing with these encampments and everything, it literally is coming back to the point where we're looking at Nazi Germany.
well, I think too, a lot of it is what they're trying to do is population control. I think that that's one of their goals. It may be a secondary goal, but it's population control, pure, plain and simple. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, and plus the fact that they're still trying to assert themselves as being the biggest kid on the playground. Like, if you talk smack to me, I'm going to put you down, but I'm going to put you down like a dog. You know, that kind of a thing.
I mean, that's the whole idea with the execution bans. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be cheaper and more efficient, but I'm a little on crossroads on that one though, because looking at the data, it looks like it's a cheaper form and everything like that, and it's a little bit
At its
human.
purest, basic, most elemental, chemical composition, it's still state-sponsored murder. It's no different than what Stalin did to damn near like 30-something million of his own citizens.
Yeah. God, yeah. Fuck. What was it? 60 million?
So it was close to that.
Yeah. But that
But the funny thing about Stalin is that when Stalin died, he died of food poisoning. Somebody poisoned his food. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact. And I don't know if you remember this name or not. Boris Yeltsin.
No, the guy just recently almost died of food poisoning.
Well, Boris Yeltsin took over as president of Russia after Mikhail Gorbachev stepped down.
Mm-hmm.
Boris Yeltsin was in that house when Stalin died. Boris
Weird.
Yeltsin was an aide to a member of Stalin's inner circle.
Huh. Weird. Do, 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 do.
So, I mean, at some point, will the Chinese people rise up and figure out that, yeah, there's a lot of us that are going to die, but we can overthrow this government? Will that day ever happen? Maybe, maybe not. I have no clue. I don't put it past the Chinese government to nuke their own citizens, or nuke their own citizens.
I mean, they will. It's they put. I've been doing a lot of like research on this one of like the propaganda, how different countries do their propaganda and everything like that. I mean, we do our own propaganda too, to the fact of making us look like we're high up here and everything like that. But I went on a binge on North Korea's propaganda, how they view.
Did you see North Korea's newest video that they put out?
No, not yet. You're gonna have to share that with me. Oh my god! But
wow.
I mean, we gave them food and everything like that, and their response is like, "Hey, look what our dictator did. He got the Americans to give us food because they owe us something."
Yeah, they treat.
And the Chinese government do the same thing. And what's really strange is if you look at like their historical stuff like that, they've always done that. To where people think like propaganda has been like a new thing. It hasn't been a new thing. We're always, if you look at the broader strokes of the paint strips, you can see the small minute details of what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always saying that people who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So, we're locked into this circle, and until people figure out that socialism and liberalism don't freaking work, like period, I really don't think that we're ever going to get to a point in human history between now and the day that our sun goes supernova. I don't think we'll ever. I mean, for as long as mankind exists, there's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be war. The escalation of violence is going to maintain the same. It's just going to seem more. It's going to seem more extreme in the future, just because we have figured out more ways to kill people.
It's just a more efficient way we do it.
Well, once we start colonizing other bodies in our solar system, and we start competing for territory, I think that our nationality quabbles will be set aside, and now we're going to start talking planetary quabbles.
Yeah, basically you're talking about like the expanse and whatnot.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I see that where that's going, but even with the expanse, you see,
even like in Total Recall.
Well, even then, but it's like you're still noticing shreds of human decency coming out, and I think that it's going to ultimately take these quote unquote freedom fighters to bring that basic decency back. And once either they martyr themselves, or they become martyrs, or they win, it's going to take an incredibly huge grassroots movement in order to instill that as something that is the governing, the governing theme. And I'm not optimistic that we're going to see that at all. I mean, I'm a realist, if anything else. I mean, we're always going to fight, and hate is going to be something that always exists. We're never going to truly get away from racism. We're never going to truly get away from people wanting to not necessarily segregate themselves, but we're never going to get to a point where true acceptance of everybody is going to be a thing. Because, and we're seeing it now with, and I'm just going to call them the Alphabet Gang. Even with the apparent acceptance that they've been given, they say in some of the, oh, we've earned it. You didn't earn a damn thing. It was given to you. There's nothing. There has never been a constitutional amendment, keeping you or forbidding you from voting. There's never been any kind of constitutional laws that have kept you from doing anything,
or considered like
or even
half
being
a person.
exactly. That's where I was going. You were never considered a half person in the eyes of the Constitution.
It was like 1/16 or some shit like that.
No, it was half. It was half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was half. But gay people.
What was 1/16? Was that the Indians?
I think maybe, yeah. But with, I don't know, it might have been slaves being 1/6 or something. Anyways, the point is, it's never going to be enough for some groups or some sections of our society. It will never, ever be enough. Ever. Because it's always going to be easier to wear that victim mentality. Because at some point, for a lot of these people that are out there, especially the louder voices, I'm normal. I was born this way. Well, A, no, the fuck you weren't. And B, being a victim has now defined who you are. I mean, that's who you identify as. You've identified yourself as a victim, and you don't know any other way to live. And you can say, well, that's because I'm a byproduct. It's a byproduct of society and its oppression for the people of my lifestyle. I'm like, well, no, it's not. It's just because you find it easier to live in that hole, knowing that you didn't do a damn thing to lift a finger for any of the acceptance that you've quote-unquote won, but you're willing to take freedom, you're willing to take credit for all of that and still identify yourself as some kind of keyboard freedom fighter. Well, you know what? How about you get off your high horse, you get out there, you stop being a victim, you act like a normal, decent human being, and you go out and you contribute. Be a part of the solution. Quit being a part of the problem. And it's this victim mentality that's now become a part of the problem.
Yeah, the one thing that got to me like perplexed is there's a preschooler on TikTok right now saying it was like, I'm going to teach kids in preschool about sexuality, blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
no.
They're fucking kids. Shut the fuck up.
No, it is not the schools, it is not the government's responsibility to teach my kids about sexuality.
Yeah.
That's my responsibility as a parent.
Or the internet.
No, not even
Stop
that.
But no, it was 3/5 law. 3/5.
3/5. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's the problem with the Chinese doing what they're doing. While we may look at it as being something that's atrocious and being something that is somehow new, it's not. It's really, really not.
No, it's been going over since the dawn of time, really. Since man first realized I can be stronger than another person and get them to do whatever I want.
Yeah, and ever since there was an alpha male and a beta male, and on the other side of the gender equation, and yes, I'm saying other side, I am implying that there are two genders. If you don't like it, that's just too damn bad. Exercise your freedom of choice and just navigate away from our page.
I just use fucker.
But there's always going to be an alpha male, alpha female, beta female. Just an X and a Y chromosome, But ever since we've established that there's alphas and betas, somebody's always going to feel superior to the other. And when the betas decide that they want to bow up their chest and stand up to the alphas and either win in sheer numbers or get it in a sucker punch and then just curb stomp, whatever. Plug in your own euphemism, but one side's always going to be fighting for dominance over the other. That is why we're going to be in constant conflict for as long as the human race exists.
Yeah, because there's always going to be a bigger dog.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lesson that I mean, as parents, we need to teach our kids, and it's not a lesson of violence or anything like that. It's one of the, when you get a job, be the best that you can be at that job.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be somebody younger, faster, smarter, and better than you are. It doesn't matter what the vocation is. For anywhere from athletics to resurfacing concrete, there's going to be some freak of nature that is just measures in light years beyond anything that you could have imagined possible as far as talent level is concerned.
Yeah.
The one thing that keeps us normal human beings, us mere mortals, employed and functioning is the fact that, talent may get you on the field, but it's tenacity, practice, and practical application of the other two that win the game.
Yep. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and call it for today.
Yeah, sorry we're short on comedy for this one, but
Yeah, I honestly, I don't like bullies, and that's what it really is.
Yeah, speaking of bullies, it was on the Wichita Falls Rants and Raves page on Facebook. Let me get in here.
And we're getting into the Our Town segment.
Yeah, right. Somebody posted and they were like, "Hey, what's your thoughts on this?" And they took a screenshot and it says, "Parents, how do y'all feel about this?" Crap, come on. Parents, please stop sending your kids to school with the idea if someone hits you, you hit them back. You are part of the problem. And then this person with the tag name at Tristan Adele Gay, i.e. Dr. Pepper Mom. Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
If my kid asks your kid to stop bullying him or someone else and they don't, my kid has full permission to rock your kid's shit. I'm not even sorry. I agree with that mentality a little bit. I've always taught my kids that there are three types of people in this world. There's sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. I have tried my best to raise my kids to be the sheepdog because it's never okay to start a fight. But if you're standing up for the little guy, you better damn make sure that you finish that fight.
Yeah.
Because, at least as far as my family is concerned, being in the military is kind of the family business, so to speak. And it's a family business I would love to see be put out of business. And it's not that I'm discouraging military service or anything like that, but I don't want to see my kids
Get traumatized, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to have them go through, because the level of trauma that soldiers, sailors, Marines, and even airmen of the future are going to experience.
I hate that you put, even airmen.
I got to get that rib in. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the traumas that they're going to experience are going to be, in essence, the same thing, but it's going to be that much more egregious because we're going to become that much more efficient at killing other human beings.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get to the point where we're going to start throwing people out of airlocks, shit like that, But
God, I want to be in part of that one.
You want to space somebody?
Yes. Yes, I do.
To see if either they explode or if they just freeze?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Anyway.
So how are we going to kill this guy? Boop.
But the fact is that, or the point is that we've always been a family of sheepdogs. I mean, I'm not saying that, just like everybody else, we've got the bad apples in our family. You've got those bullies, and then you've got those people that just love to be walked all over because they don't know anything else. Or it's just easier for them to, again, play the victim. as opposed to stand up and stand up for something.
Yeah.
You know, what is the saying? If you don't stand for something, then you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's what I've tried to teach my kids. And you know, there was even a couple instances where, you know, my youngest son Reagan, he's got Asperger's, and he was getting picked on at school, and his brother Colin overheard it and stood up for his brother, and ended up having to put his hands on another kid that was giving his little brother hell. Yeah, he got in-school suspension for it or whatever, and had to go sit in another classroom separated from the rest of the school for a day or two. But did he get punished for it at home? No. I mean, he got a talking to about it. But he stood up for his brother, and he did not let his brother be a victim.
Yeah. No, I've found it's like when people ask me, it's like, how do you deal with your child? I'm like, you ever tried talking to him? You know, just figuring out the information and everything, and you know, give them your advice. Is like, hey, or tell them, hey, try it this way. It works out better as a parent instead of like seeming like you're going, oh no, this is the way you have to do it or whatnot. I'm like, no, this is how, you know, society explain it. Because just because you're a parent and everything like that, you're also their teacher.
Yeah.
You're instructing them how to live a life.
And that's the operative term, is parent. You're not there to be their best fucking friend. My dad always told me when we were growing up, I mean, my dad, I think I've told this before, my dad, when I was younger, he said, you look up the word asshole in the dictionary, and in the margin you'll see a picture of your grandfather, and it'll say, see him. He was a flaming asshole. I joined the Navy, and I turned it into an art form. And then my dad got to witness me chewing out a private one day. He looked at me, and he goes, you're an asshole. And I was like, aw, thank you. You know, I'm a third-generation asshole, and I come by it honestly.
Yeah, it's...
You know, I mean, my dad was in the Navy for 20-something years. I mean, with the exception of maybe 2.5 years of my formative years, I guess, so to speak, I spent as a Navy brat. And I got to watch my dad be a complete, utter dickhead to people that he was responsible for. I got to watch and witness my dad being an asshole directly to me. And, you know, and I'm not chastising my dad by any stretch of the imagination. I know that you're going to find this hard to believe, I was not an angel. I was not a saint growing up. I needed my ass whipped daily. Okay, and I got it a lot. But, you know, I have found that while there is a time and a place to assert that type of vocal grading, you know, I understand that kids today are built a little bit more gently than we were, and then the generation before us was tougher than we were. It's always going to be the next generation that's got it easy, you know. But
well, that's what like Andy Snoff says. Like, my class was the hardest class in all the Navy SEALs.
right, yeah.
But it's never the other guys.
Yeah, it's always my platoon was the badass platoon of the company, and we set the standard. And the things that you experienced are always going to be the hard thing, right?
What's really sad, the only person that I can say that and I actually believe is Jocko Willis, because he literally wrote the book for the before he retired, how leadership is supposed to be conducted.
Well, kind of like World War II in its entirety, you could read every book that's ever been written about the subject, and you're always going to find that there's gaps in the information, and there's always something that's not being taught. leadership is kind of a fluid dynamic like that. You have different approaches to leadership. And what I try to employ is a basic ethos. And it's the 3 M's. And anybody that I ever served with, and they know about the 3 M's. It's men, mission, myself. And in that order, you take care of your men or your people. They're going to take care of the mission. And then you can worry about yourself.
Yeah.
Simply put, if you're out on a movement and Joe Snuffy fucking didn't pack enough socks, well, you reach into your assault pack, you give him, even if it's your last pair of dry fucking clean socks, you give them to him because you're not the one carrying the fucking machine gun, he is.
Yeah.
You can chew his ass out for it later, but
It's not going to fix anything.
it's not going to fix anything there. You make sure that he's got the tools necessary to complete his job in the most efficient manner possible, so that way he can plug the hole in that line. He can he can help accomplish the mission, and then when you bring your asses back to the rear, then you have him elevate his feet off the tip of Mount Everest while he's trying to do push-ups from base camp. Okay, and we affectionately referred to it like when we were back in the rear. We're like, because Fort Campbell, Kentucky straddles the state line between Kentucky and Tennessee, and there used to be 2 post offices there, but there was a commanding general for the division who was told, make a decision as to what post office to close. Well, this general was from Kentucky, and he wanted to claim Fort Campbell for his home state, so he closed the Tennessee post office. So that's why it became Fort Campbell, Kentucky, even though most of the post
Is in Tennessee.
is in Tennessee. But I digress. So we used to say, do push-ups until Fort Campbell's back in Tennessee, right? And then there was one guy, it was a drill sergeant. I heard him say this. He was like, we were at Fort Benning, and he was like, he's like, I want you to do push-ups until, I want you to do push-ups until, it's like, until, like, because the drop zone for the airborne school is on the Alabama side of the state line.
Okay.
Okay, he goes, I want you to do push-ups until Friar DZ's back in Georgia. We're just like, oh, man, that sucks. But, I mean, you could always smoke a private for it later, I mean, I've always been a big believer in physical punishment as opposed to paper. Because, I mean, counseling statements, what do they do besides generate angst and just make somebody just generally a bitch?
And they don't really realize how horrible it is until they're going up for review to get extra rank.
Yeah, all that aside, I mean, yeah, you can threaten people with paperwork and like, oh, I'm going to write you up on a counseling statement. Like, okay, so you're going to do what? You're going to piss me off by making me read this, and then later on down the road, I mean, when you get handed your counseling packet, say you PCS and you go to a different unit or a different post.
I removed those things.
Exactly. You can remove a counseling statement. Okay, whereas if you take the time to physically train and correct a soldier, sailor, Marine, airman, you're helping them, believe it or not, because you're giving them immediate negative reinforcement, but you're also helping them become physically stronger. Okay, because
So if you have an argument and you have to go to the Connex box, they can take their shit.
yeah, exactly. it's one of those.
I've only had like 2 conversations in the Connex box.
There's
And a lot.
There's always been, there's an adage that there's 2 different types of privates in this world. There's the smart privates who get all the right answers and do everything right, and then there's the strong privates, who are the ones that are always fucking up and getting smoked. I mean, we affectionately created a 3rd class of private, where we were the dumb, or we were the smart, strong ones. We knew the answers, but we fucked it up on purpose just so we could get smoked. I mean, but that's just the type of mentality of, who we were, as a unit. It's like we enjoyed getting smoked. We enjoyed getting smoked together because it was like we found it enjoyable.
That's called masochism.
No, we found it enjoyable.
Whatever, man. It's called masochism.
Well, it bred esprit de corps.
Why didn't you just tell them to grab the paddle and just start spanking? I mean, that is literally what you're saying. Other than you all you had to do is go, hey, I'll do the right answer, but in the back of my head, I'm going to go to the gym and do some reps. That's all you had to do. But no, you had to have somebody else tell you to do that.
Well, no, because, again, esprit de corps goes a very, very long way. No, you see, my dad was always so sweet and quiet to other people.
Oh, my dad was the same way.
And see, now that he's a grandparent,
yes, it's
just
so,
like Bill Cosby said, you're like, no, she's just trying to get into heaven right now. No, don't let her fool you. You know?
my dad is the same way. My dad, all my friends are like, "Oh, your dad's so great. He helps us out." I mean, and he did help out a lot of my friends out, and a lot of my friends like love him. And it's like, man, Dave, how can you be so mean to your dad? Really? Today was even the freaking day. I told him my chest was hurting because of all the weight I was doing, and the fucking first thing he does is he takes his fucking knuckle and just pounds it into my chest. I'm like, I knew that was coming. Fuck, I knew that was coming.
No, to be fair, I was feeling a bit magnanimous. When you said that you were sore, that was the first thought that went through my head. I'm like, I should slug him right in the shoulder.
What is with us with doing that? Because when you had said your hip was hurting and everything, I was like, I got a chance now. I think that's the thought. I mean, I could have hit your hip, but it would probably hurt me a little bit more than it would hurt you, depending on how I mean, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, physics would turn around and just completely go out the window because you would hit my hip and end up on your head.
I see where you went there.
Uh-huh.
And we're just gonna end the conversation before we get into a verbal argument. Before we almost we're live on camera. Fuck this. Oh God.
Yeah.
Dude, we did it. I think the last time I tussled with a friend of mine, just friendly tussle and everything like that.
And the fact that you're using the word tussle or tussle.
Tussle.
Okay, anyways, go ahead.
Fuck off. Anyways, I was trying to be nice and sweet and everything like that, so everybody would actually think that I'm an actual human being. But I think it was like 26, 27, and that was the time frame when I realized I'm never gonna freaking rust around ever again.
Yeah, the last physical altercation I got into was 16, 17 years ago.
It's really ridiculous how much you realize. It's like, yeah, no, I'm going to carry a gun for the rest of my life. I don't want to fucking wear myself out.
I will get into a fist fight. I'd rather not, but I'm not afraid to get into a fist fight.
And you're like talking to people to get out of the fist fight, and you're like seriously trying to get out of the fight. It was like, nah, dude, you don't want to do this because you know how much is going to hurt you. Even though he's going to go down, he's going down.
Hey, even if I lose that fight, they are going to absolutely know that they had to earn that one.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, and if anything else, it is going to be a teachable moment for them because they are most likely going to end up bloodied and or maybe possibly is missing an ear. Because it only takes 25 pounds of pressure to remove the ear from a human head. It's
another spot that I really love hitting too. Not punching, but getting at to is right here. You can control a fucking human body, man. Just grab it up, pull it back.
Or you just get a palm strike to the solar plexus and you can make their heart skip.
Yeah, but certain things are just easier to grab and everything. That's one of them.
Or if you're going to hit somebody with a knuckle, hit them right there in the xiphoid process.
I already had that fucking today. Shut the fuck up.
No, I'm talking about that little piece of
No, I know what you mean. Because I had it today because my dad did it today.
Oh, he hit you right there at the bottom of the sternum? Ooh.
I love my dad, but he's an asshole at times.
All right, so we can go ahead and wrap this up. And,
Yeah, we've covered enough.
We're going to shoot our sports episode tomorrow, and we're going to commiserate in because as of right now, we are 0 for 3 out of the 4 picks so far. The second half just started in Kansas City, and the game is tied at 14. I'm really hoping the Bills pull this one out because I don't want to go 0 for 4 for the weekend.
Yeah. Anyways, but I am David Dickerman.
I'm Johnny Skelton.
And don't forget to check out our prize for the Psychos and Sociopaths.
You know, it just dawned on me. I'm looking at the shot right now, the live shot. Mm-hmm. Look at the bubble bath bottle.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah, you did? Very nicely played. Very nicely played.
I did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. And if you were going to do it, you needed to do it a little bit more purposefully. See that? You got your dick and balls, and you got the
lotion right next to it. Okay,
right, the lotion right next to it. And the way that I arranged it, right, I turned the bottle. I know it says the righteous butter, but now it just says the righteous butt.
Oh, dude.
See?
That is fucking awesome.
Right, there we go.
That is awesome. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Maria, since that's the only one watching right now. See, I'm watching you change everything around. It's so fucked up. But thank you for watching. Love you guys. And I'm David Dickerman.
I don't love you, hoes. I'm Johnny Skelton.
And boom. Thank you for watching.